For those of you who are watching this that have not played Last Day on Earth, Grim Soul Survival is a copycat version of that game. It's an amazing copycat version, and I'm excited about playing it, but I'm telling you this because if any of these tips seem too advanced for you, I'd recommend checking out some of my Last Day on Earth videos. I have videos on how to get each resource in the game and other videos that cover pretty much every concept of the game. I'll be putting links to some of those videos in the top right corner as I go through these tips. When you're starting the game, the first question you need to ask yourself is whether or not you want to cut down the trees in your home area. Once you cut down those trees, they will never grow back. So if you'd like to design your base with trees on it, you need to use those trees. After killing everything in the area, I recommend building one pickaxe and then putting your character on auto. When he's done, you should be at least level 3, which will allow you to build a peasant's chest. Don't worry about building walls just yet, because no one can actually raid your base. That hasn't actually been implemented in the game yet. After building a sack, I recommend using all of your resources on building storage. Place everything in that storage and leave the area. An attacked caravan event will appear. This event has over 50 slots worth of items, so you want to make sure that you go completely itemless and naked. Anytime I start a game, I look for something in the store that is between $5 to $10 as my way of supporting the developers of that game. If you like to do the same, I strongly recommend spending $6 on the On an Adventure package. This will let you start out with the equivalent of a military backpack, which you can't actually build in this game until you are level 55. But buying one could obviously make the game more stressful, because if you make one mistake, you will lose your entire purchase. If you buy the backpack, then you can get all the stuff from the event in 2 trips. Otherwise, it will take 3. If you have to choose between items, these items are the most important to get early on in the game. The first thing you want to build with your loot is a Raven's Cage. If you grab the resources I highlighted, you should have enough to build it. The Raven's Cage will engage you in a long series of quests. These quests will give crafting points, which are needed to craft items. If you finish a quest, leave the area and come right back in for your next quest. After this, you're going to be tempted to run to the various events that pop up. I would advise against going to those events just yet. The events give you great items, but they require a lot of energy and they give almost no experience. I explain this in more detail on my video on the fastest way to level up. If you don't level up, then you can't build these workbenches. These workbenches are the key to advancing in this game. In my opinion, you are still playing at a beginner level until you build a sewing machine, which requires you to be at least level 19. On that note, I recommend building 2 sewing machines before you build your stables. Horseback riding does not yet exist in the game, and you will need these cords to build your sewing machines. After you build those, your base can properly function like a hub for everything else you do in the game. At this point, you can do as many events as you'd like. I recommend checking out my video on how to summon 4 events each day, which is actually 5 or 6 events in this game, but the concept is the same. In fact, the reset time for this game is also at midnight GMT, just like it is in Last Day on Earth. The surrounding AI bases have some great stuff, but I recommend waiting until you get the quest before you go visit them. You can't break down walls yet, but they have a lot of food and materials, which makes it worth it. This base has the best loot, this one is good, and these 2 are okay. If you stay too long, enemies will appear. If there are spikes on that base, I recommend using them to kill the Knights and Templars. These enemies drop nails, which if you play Last Day on Earth, you might think that this is lame, but it is in fact not lame. Nails in Grim Souls are far more expensive than they are in Last Day on Earth. Each set of nails requires 1 bronze ingot to make. Each bronze ingot requires a copper ingot and tin ore to be smelted together. Since iron, birch, oak, etc. don't exist in the game yet, this means that bronze nails are the highest tier resource in the game. I recommend getting as many bronze nails as you can before they make their AI smart enough to avoid spikes. As many of you know, I recommend doing everything you can in the green zones, but unless you're building a huge base, you will start to need more copper than you can get by simply farming the green zone at around level 25. Copper is a bit more rare than iron is in Last Day on Earth, but the concept is the same. So if you're wanting to get a lot of copper ore quickly, I recommend watching my video on the efficacious way to get iron. Using that method will get you a ton of copper really quickly. In addition to those, I have 34 more random tips for you guys. No matter what zone you are in, if it is night, the night guest will appear. I love this edition of the game. It makes farming at night really suspenseful. Currently, no weapon in the game can do damage to him, so the only way to deal with him is to scare him off. There are 4 ways of doing this. The first is to equip a torch. The second is to stand on one of these cryptic symbols, which will also scare him off. If you're in a zone, you can also survive by leaving the zone and waiting until daytime. And if you are home, you can go into your house. You can also trap him, but I imagine they will fix this soon. Lumber burns 50% longer than wood, just like it does in Last Day on Earth, but I wouldn't recommend trying to maximize this at first, because your woodworking bitches are going to have trouble keeping up until you're around level 20. After that, I recommend using only lumber so you don't have to make as many wood runs. Eating too much will make you sick and need to throw up. This decreases your movement speed by 60%, and it can put you in a bind if you're fighting, so don't pop too many berries in the middle of a fight. Also, hawberries are used to make a healing drink, and I believe hollyberries are used in alchemy, so you might want to hold on to them. My favorite cheap healing source is the fried leek, which heals around 30 over time. Their healing system is a little different, and in my opinion, amazing. This game has done a great job of creating a wider diversity of attacks and ranges of weapons. They've also done a good job of diversifying the hit points and armor numbers of the enemies you are facing. This means that some weapons are really good against some enemies, but using them on other enemies can be wasteful. For example, the cart thill is amazing against the damned, but is wasted on lepers. Though one might argue that it's still good against lepers because their range allows you to kill them without taking damage. Taking a stutter step in between attacks will allow you to increase how fast you can attack. I'm really glad they left this in there because it gives an advantage to those who are paying attention versus just clicking it on auto. Sneak attack only does 2 times the damage, which makes sense because the halberd has 81 attack, and as a medieval fantasy game, I imagine there will be even stronger melee weapons in the future. Mining limestone through graves is a fraction more efficient than farming ore deposits, but honestly, it's most efficient to farm whatever's in front of you. Level 1 walls are twice as expensive as they are in Last Day on Earth, but level 2 walls are 33% less expensive. Level 3 walls are a bit more expensive than they used to be in Last Day on Earth, but are way less expensive than they are now. In my opinion, their scaling system for walls is very well done. You can find maps to both dungeons, but the keys to those dungeons do not yet exist. I still recommend looting the areas because they have some great stuff, but the best thing you can do in the game right now is to build up your base and get an armory ready for when the dungeons do become active. Horseback riding does not exist yet, and it seems like the feeding trough is the new equivalent to the Last Day on Earth gas tank, which was not introduced for the first 5 months of that game. Hopefully Grim Soul Survival will be able to work faster than that. Iron, steel, meteoric ingots do not exist yet. Birch and oak do not exist yet. Sulfur, saltpeter, coal, etc. And of course, none of the vehicles exist yet. It seems like ranged weapons of any kind do not exist yet. And just in case the devs watch this video, I hope when you do implement ranged weapons, you will make them hard to use with heavy armor, like it makes their attack rate super slow, or something to force players to use weaker armor, thus making ranged weapons not always the best choice. I think that's more realistic, but you do you. I'm very impressed with the thought you've put into this game. To my subscribers, I definitely recommend checking out this game. Almost every change they've made to Last Day on Earth, I thought, wow, that was really smart. I still stand by my theory that the original game will most likely do better, especially because it seems like Last Day on Earth is getting close to releasing multiplayer, but this game is really fun, and I can tell that the developers are really smart. Also, they added a storyline that is revealed through RNG, and so far, I'm impressed. Well, that's it guys, hope that helps. I've attached a playlist of just the Last Day on Earth videos that I think would be most helpful for this game. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.